You are the chosen one.
Welcome back to Chosen One Studios' Let's Play of Demon's Crest. In this section, we're going to be going back to where we fought Arma and taking the lower path, which is probably what you're supposed to do first, since fighting Arma makes that power sort of pointless. But I honestly hate that fight to death, and I thought we could use a little bit more Arma action. So we already got everything we can get from this section, so rather than just fly overhead, it's going to show off the sheer superiority of the legendary gargoyle over all the previous forms we've acquired. It does great damage, it has a huge hitbox for its attack, because it's a 2-range attack. Does the same damage whether you're flying or whether you're on the ground. You still do need to be careful, but you also take less hits. Also, those little guys, no longer do we need to break out their armor and then attack them. We just light them on fire. It's how powerful we are now. Nothing can really phase us, except for time, so to speak. Which I guess is sort of the whole point. Just keeping that power because there is one little thing we need to find here. So I will be taking this guys a bit, because the only downside is that unlike the aerial gargoyle, the poor guy can't fly. At least he can't ascend. So he does need the aerial gargoyle's help for that. Which unfortunately does make the final battle a little bit more difficult, as you'll see. But definitely still doable, just a little bit frustrating. So we're just going to do some ramming. Yeah, I know you don't really care. There's a lot of these skull piles, and there you go, you got a chance to see that they do hurt. I don't think I'd shown the ones on the floor hurt before. I think you trust me by now, but still. Full heal that I could have used. Smashing into that. And up there, I always forget it's so easily found on the normal path, we're going to find the final vellum. That'll make showing off all the spells a whole heck of a lot easier. Music sort of has an unholy sound to it, and we have the final vellum, leaving the only thing we have left to grab being one last talisman and some health, and that little sucker right there, Demon Fire. So we'll switch back over to our legendary gargoyle form, and we'll face a boss I hate so much. I think his name is Grewon. We'll be fighting him again. I can confirm when we fight him then. He's, very powerful. This wall here is very slippery. He can climb up it. He can't get you near at the very top, but he's kind of unpredictable. There he is, just sort of growling. When you hit him once, you want to get away from him because he just turns green, and he's invulnerable while he's green. If he's green and you just try attacking him, he'll just keep shooting his only really non-body attack at you, that little steam of air. But as you can see, he's not really much of a match for the time gargoyle, which, does sort of make this fight unfair. But I've never really been much for fair fights. This isn't that kind of video. We've got the Fire Crest! You've got the piece of the Fire Crest called Demon Fire. This is the most powerful fire in the realm. And in fact it is. I'm just going to very quickly cut so we can show off just how awesome the Demon Fire is. Just would have been better if we could have gotten it earlier in the game. It really doesn't serve a whole lot of purpose now. But that'll be just one moment, and then we'll show off all those lovely spells. And we're back. What better enemy to show off against than the armor? But, you see, it's not really all that strong. And it takes 2 hits to kill them. Our flying friends, the dragons, still takes 2 hits on. So while, don't get me wrong, I'm thankful that we have it, and it does fill an empty void in all of our hearts. it has absolutely no point in this game. It really just should not have been entered, or should have been given something else. It smacks of, let's round it out, or this was intended... A lot of this game sort of smacks of, it was intended to be put together differently, because just, it's not really all that useful in this game. It does look amazing. It sort of parallels Arma's final attack, so maybe that's what you're supposed to use against him, but I find this guy down here so hard to fight with any other attack, as he's immune to the aerial gargoyle. Ground doesn't do nearly enough damage to him, so our only chance to fight Arma first. So now we're just going to cut, and I'll show you off all the lovely spell animations. Or I'll come back to you just to show off buying all of them. Shadow is that barrier of darkness. Hold holds enemies in place. Imp makes an imp appear. Shock makes the earth shake. And death, the enemies around you will die. So now let's find a convenient place to show them off. And to show off all these lovely spells, we're going to go back through levels 1 through 5. We were just at 6, so this video will show us everything we've gone through. Nice little bit of a recap. So, I'm just going to get really close to some enemies and cast Shadow. It's supposed to form a barrier. As you can see, those enemies turn to a crisp, so sort of a panic button spell. You've got too much around you, need to get some room, go nuts. It's only 10 GP, so I guess it's not really that bad of a spell to have. Probably would have been useful to have in a few spots. Definitely not about to knock it. So let's move on to level 2 to show off our next spell, which will be Hold. So here we are, back in level 2, the part we haven't gone to too much. So we've got all kinds of enemies around, let's throw off Hold. All of our enemies are still. And as those symbols disappear, our enemies can move again. So it's sort of a time-stoppy sort of thing. Don't believe it works on bosses, but still, you know, you've got an area with a bunch of enemies you don't really want to deal with. Like those little hands down there probably wouldn't be too bad. Throw that on, and you're home set. But let's head over to Flamelord Steve's level to show off our third spell, which will be Imp. And here we are. Got that guy crawling on the tree. Got that little guy there. So let's summon us up an imp. We've got some money. And we'll see, little guy. Looks like Firebrand did it first. And he'll work for us for a bit. Sort of works as an option in our type, except that he doesn't protect you. Just likes to kill things. See if his color changes with you. Nope! He's got a solid color. So that's our little helper bee. He's just gonna fly around and attack stuff for us. At least until we're out of money. And we've only got about 84 left. Let's see, lasting longer than I thought this sucker did. And we're only down to 74, but you know, then we take that, we'll be back at only to 76. So he does chew through the money, but you know, since there's not a lot to spend money on, I guess if you want to use this guy and you're stocked up on potions, I mean, as long as you've got Crown equipped, you're gonna be getting lots of money anyway, and he'll help you get it. So let's just use a little bit of time-lapse here to get him down to a point where he'll disappear for us. And we're back. He's only got 3 gold left, and then he flies away. So, you got the money, you want to summon him? There are worse calls to make. I'd rather save it on healing potions, though, but I do believe he can attack enemies. He's just not very good at it, but I think he can even attack bosses. But probably not really worth the investment, especially since you'd have to keep paying for him over and over again. But let's head back over to the Forbidden Tower, because we've still got a couple more spells to show off. Our next spell being Shock, so let's go do that now. And we're back, and surrounded by these armor flunkies. So let's see how Shock works on them. It doesn't work on them at all, because it only affects ground enemies. There's no different animation though, they'd just be hurt, and then they burst into flames. That's just really how that works. Once again, as a reminder, this area, really recommend going to the Arma part first because I'm not pressing any buttons right now, and Firebrand is flying on his own, makes it hard to deal with those guys. And let's face it, why fight the flyer any other way besides ultimately if you don't have to? So now we've just got one place to revisit for our final spell. That spell will be Death, and that place will be the Water Temple. And then I have one other little surprise to show, which will be after the cut. So here we are, we've got an Axe Goblin, we've got the Tidal Gargoyle, and let's see what Death's all about. Oh, we had 2 X-Goblins. So yeah, that's what the Death spell is all about. Only affects small enemies, but they will be dead. So if you've got a spot that's just giving you trouble because there's just too many enemies on screen, you can't grab, that's not a good idea, then, hey, why not use Death? It's not a bad spell, it's not that expensive. I just really don't use magic myself. Just as a proof of concept thing, here we are. And here we are. So, you don't have to be stuck to one path if you end up going the wrong way. It's sort of nice to know. So then after the cut, I just have one more thing to show you before we go on and take out Phalanx's fortress. So, let's do that now, shall we? So, what do we have here is the last thing? Looks like just a piece of water, right? We're just gonna dive down into this, and as you can see, it's the final tree of the Paygo. I like to turn into Legendary Gargoyle at this point, because frankly, makes things a little bit more legendary. But, let's see here, we're just gonna take this on just a moment. And let's see here. So, it's the same thing as before, except, we'll agree, but we're not familiar with his rules. This time we have to take out 25. They'll give us 20, but let's be perfectly honest, we don't really care about money anymore. Trick here is that 2 skulls will appear at a time. They will disappear, however, so you want to keep track of which was the one that's been on the screen the longest, and don't focus on that one if you've taken too long to get rid of a skull. Move on to the next one. You do have to take out 25, and like you see there, you really don't have time to waste on being a moron. So if you're having trouble hitting them, you have a kind of skull you're just not good at, don't focus on it. It does not matter. There are 2. One of them on screen you should be able to hit at a time, unless you get some really nasty luck. And even then, hopefully your luck will be better than mine. But no, there we go. We got 25. So you are the first one to have ever cleared this level. So take this. It's a special present for a true gambler like yourself. And it's a piece of life. So, awesome. We only have 1 piece of life left to get. We've shown off all the spells, which I've refilled here. We have all the ginseng. All we need is this little sucker there, 1 piece of life, and the Crest of Heaven, which is clutched very firmly in Phalanx's fatal grip. So, next time, we'll be taking him on. And let's just see here, we'll just fly over to his stage now. It's the same place that we could have taken him on earlier, but this time there's actually a level. The other way, it's just a rush right to the final battle. So, we're going to take him on next. Thank you very much for joining us in this Let's Play. This is Corinne with Chosen One Studios, and I hope that you have yourself a very wonderful day.